Well, surprise, surprise, or maybe not. For some of us that know DWP, DWP have admitted yet again more errors that have impacted vulnerable people like carers financially. So let's dive into it in this video, what has been groundbreaking news today. And I'm also going to be giving you an update on that horrible fear bill, and I'm even going to be answering some of your questions in the comments. So let's go to it. So I was going to be going through the comments and answering some questions, but all of the comments are like lovely James, who says DWP, bullying the poor and vulnerable. This shows true colours of those reptiles. And I mean, yeah, everybody pretty much seems to be disagreeing with digital ID. Everybody disagrees with the fear bill. Everybody is questioning how dishonest the Department of Work and Pensions are. Everybody is thinking that this is awful and they would like to do something to stop this from going forward. Lots of people still questioning about the statements and why they're being asked to provide statements. Please watch the Universal Credit playlist if you haven't yet done so. That will sort all of that out. And then lots of people really quite shocked. I mean, let's just hope DWP actually read some of these comments and see, you know, how little faith the public have in them. Quite shocking, really, that the people of Britain just do not feel supported at all by a department that is meant to support the vulnerable. But, you know, we are where we are. Months, and you have been going through the fear bill with me, and lots of you have been in the comments going, well, if you haven't done anything wrong, why should it matter that departments like the Department of Work and Pensions can just go into your bank and take money out? Well, what's just happened and what has just been announced by DWP themselves regarding the overpayment of Carers Allowance is exactly the reasons why the Department of Work and Pensions should not be permitted to go into people's bank accounts and take money out, because it's clearly very obvious that they make many mistakes, and those mistakes impact some of the most vulnerable people in society at the most vulnerable points in their life. And this whole episode, yet another episode of failure by DWP, is exactly why the general British public just do not have faith in them anymore. And I think we can all see why so many people have been asked for their bank statements lately. It's not because you might be doing something wrong. Well, some of you may be. It's because the Department of Work and Pensions, yet again, haven't been following their own guidance. And because of that, they were paying between 2015 and 2025. So that's 10 fat long years. 10 years. They had been overpaying Carers Allowance to some carers. And then they were raising invoices saying to carers, you've been paid too much Carers Allowance and you've now got to pay it back. And that money was being taken back from their other benefits and other things, which would be and has landed lots of carers in debt because they didn't have enough money to pay their rent or their utilities or even buy food. How shameful and shocking is that? And in the wake, thank God, of an independent review, it would have to be independent, wouldn't it? It could never be DWP owning up to their own internal mistakes. An independent review, it's called the SACE review as marked here, has stated that there were lots of errors and that DWP were not following their own guidance, and the reason why they weren't following their own guidance, or the employees of that department perhaps weren't following the guidance, because the guidance wasn't very clear. You really couldn't make this up, could you? How could you not write a clear policy that's going to affect carers looking over very vulnerable people, i.e. people that need care, disabled people? Shocking. So shocking. So I'm going to give you an example of what this would actually mean in layman's terms for carers. So if you didn't know, most carers are actually self-employed. And by the way, if you are someone who is struggling with low self-employment wages as a carer, then I'm going to leave a link down below from an amazing brand called Carepreneur. They are a UK British brand, British run, and they will help you increase your earnings. I will leave their details down below at this video. So let's just say a carer earns in week 1 £110, week 2 £240, just an example, and week 3 £130. Now the rules about averaging, or the what would be called the earnings threshold in particular, weren't made clear to the carers, and that is very much likely because the people behind the desk that are meant to know what they're talking about didn't understand the guidance. The carer thought it was okay in lots of cases because their average was under the earnings limit. But then years later, and this is when I've warned people about this before, when people are saying, if you're doing nothing wrong, you know, why would you not want to give them your bank statements? Well, this is the reason why. They make mistakes. Years later, the DWP have gone back to some of these carers. This is a random example, but it's, you know, a hypothesis of the whole situation, and says to them, you've breached the limit in week 2. You now owe us £3,000 in overpayments for that month. Okay. So you can see how, if you are on earning not very much money, obviously if you're only earning £100 a week, and then you're suddenly hit with a bill of £3,000, that is going to like wipe people out. Lots of people don't have £3,000, unfortunately, in the UK in their banks when they are doing, jobs such as this sometimes. Now I'm going to go on to something which is fundamental, and this runs like a rampant rash through the Department of Work and Pensions, and I've even had to assess claims nationwide in the same way myself. And this sickens me to the point that even though I have done this type of a job of claim correction before nationwide, and obviously the person supporting the case review would be doing the same, but why is it that this department never ever seems to learn from its errors? So the SACE review found that the guidance itself didn't explain what fluctuations counted. The letters sent out did not make it clear, and staff decision making on average was inconsistent. Just cover up my little notes there. This is something I found an awful lot when I assessed self-employment claims, in particular with a minimum income floor. And for carers, the minimum income floor is really important, because if the minimum income floor on a self-employed claim is not assessed correctly and set correctly, the average earnings for that self-employed person could be like the difference between like £800 or £1,000 a month. You can see the impact here, how that is really, really serious. How the hell has a government department got such fluctuation on staff decision making? Again, this shows and illustrates massive flaws in DWP's processes yet again. So if you're a carer, what does this mean for you? The last two, I just think is quite laughable suggestion. But anyway, we'll see where we go. So the government, they're saying this is what they're going to do. But let's not forget that Rachel Reeves is going to be delivering the budget tomorrow. So in true DWP style, they're probably just going to go back on this. So don't hold any reports on this to verbatim. So, but currently the government have said that they will review doesn't necessarily mean remove all debt, but review all earnings related to carer allowance overpayments from 2015 to 2025. They say that they're going to reduce or cancel debts where guidance caused the issue. That could be a very long piece of string. They say they're going to refund carers who already paid. They're going to fix internal systems. Why have they not been fixed already? 10 years of errors. Why? There's like, I don't know who's dealing with the tech for this. They just need firing, like fired. You're fired. Improve letters and communication. That's just put it in the comments if you think the communication from DWP needs to be improved. And hire more staff. I will say, if you're disabled and you're thinking of working for the Department of Work and Pensions, definitely think again, because I am one person of many who is disabled and worked for them, and they do not respect their own disability policies at all. And modernise carers allowance rules to match modern working patterns, which is a rather elusive statements. So if this is you and this is affecting you because you are a carer, this is the Justice Journal's advice to you. First of all, straight away, go all the way through your universal credit claim if you're on universal credit or any other related benefit, and make sure you screenshot every single thing. Number 2, make sure you do a subject data access request and have a complete printout of your claim or any data they hold on you delivered to your door on paper. Number 3, check your own bank statements. Now we can see why they're all asking for the bank statements, and check any pay slips if you've got them as well. Number 4, keep any proof, letters, communication, journal messages, universal credit statements that you have where they have been taking money off of your statement or off of your universal credit money, or they have been issuing you a letter or communicating to you that you need to pay these debts back. And I'm going to go one step further, which is guidance that no one at DWP is going to give you, is that I would be going back through that time period and I would be seriously making a note of any adverse effects that have impacted your life, that perhaps this a whole episode of making you pay something that you couldn't, you were really struggling to pay, and then maybe you lost your house or you had to move or you couldn't afford to contribute to your child's last year at school residential trip or whatever it is, and write that down, because I think really they should be paying some sort of compensation to people. And if you're somebody that is suffering from anxiety or stress and this has impacted your health as well, then that could give rise to some type of a claim as well. Now, I'm going to go to some of DWP's own data on this, which is pretty shocking as always. I mean, they really are illustrating rather clearly the vast impact of their errors. And I will say slightly with tongue-in-cheek, obviously, because these are DWP certain statistics, so there's probably a lot more than this. This is just what they have released to the public. So we can all, I think, safely assume there's going to be a lot more. So this is their own table from their own data that's available online, showing the estimation of the numbers that may have a reassessment of overpayments arising from incorrect earnings averaging guidance. Now, this is also, I will say, this is from a random sample. So I have worked on sampled projects on a national basis for the Department of Work and Pensions. So there are probably going to be a lot more than this. Now, just even looking at the figures, right, we can see that it was only like 2,000 and then 3,000 and 4,000. When it got to 29,000, I'm questioning why there was not some kind of security or fact-checking, cross-checking to see, what on earth is going on here. And then 17, 27,000, 29,000, and it just goes on and up. Now, if it wasn't bad enough that I'm quite shocked. I just can't even get my words out on the next part because I'm really shocked to read this. This is on page 11. So let's not forget, this is information and data about people who are carers who are already getting paid a low wage for what they're doing, helping some of the most vulnerable people in society today. And this is something that always used to completely, and it still does, completely disgust me with the Department of Work and Pensions, is the civil, if I just go to it, civil penalties. Civil penalties. So when an overpayment decision has been made, a decision maker must consider whether a civil penalty should be applied. It can be applied where the claimant has negligently made an incorrect statement or representation, or where they have, without reasonable excuse, failed to provide information or notify a relevant change of circumstances. I think that's disgusting. I would love to see that abolished. If people are already doing a remarkable career choice, helping vulnerable people, and not getting paid a lot for it, where have we got to in the UK where somebody can make a simple mistake? They might have forgotten to do something. They may have made an error on their numbers, and they're also going to get fined for it. So I just find that shocking. I really do. Anyway, let's have a little look at this. The volumes of civil penalties imposed for different benefits. So this is a deeper dive of the table that we were looking at, basically. So from 2019 to 20, as we can see, it is quite a lot. Carers Allowance has had, obviously the most amount of civil penalties applied on Carers Allowance. Absolutely shocking. And employment and support allowance. Absolutely awful. Now I want to go to the next table, which is this chart here. Now, what this chart basically shows is that as time has gone on, carers who are on Carers Allowance, more and more and more of them have had to claim universal credit. So yet again, this is statement to the fact that work in the UK, when you work, doing such a remarkable job like this, doesn't pay, does it? So in 2016, let's just remind ourselves of who was in government then. Hardly any carers were on universal credit. And as time has gone on, this is the line of carers on universal credit. It's just gone up and up and up and up. So something is clearly very wrong, isn't it? And this also reflects on that narrative that we're putting you onto universal credit because you're going to be so much better off. How? This is DWP's own data, by the way. Data doesn't lie, well, unless they, write in the data for themselves. But I'm pretty sure they would have published this because it's pretty damning, isn't it? So, yeah, it doesn't seem to be working, does it? Not at all. And I'm going to tell you the main reason why. Most of the people who are claiming Carers Allowance are disabled themselves, looking after disabled or people that are far more disabled themselves. So I just can't believe that the government yet again makes such bloody big errors when it comes to disabled people. How can a government department make so many mistakes for 10 years? It's just really highly questionable, isn't it? And this brings me on to the big flaw and error. There are many in this bill, but I'm going to bring up one in particular. So, as we all know, this is the Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill. It is still at the purple stage. It's at the final stages. Now, this bill, okay, where disabled people and vulnerable people are concerned, safeguarding has been removed. So it was proposed that, let's just say, there were vulnerable carers in the situation that we've just had, and DWP had made the mistake that they've made, and then they suddenly reach into these people's bank accounts and take out their money. Normally, there would be provisions in law to protect disabled people, to make sure that they're not in a less fortunate situation, especially financially, than they already are by such actions. Those things in the amendments of this act have been removed. So that means if you are somebody who is disabled, there is no safeguarding. The same thing is going to apply. There we go. It's on right. It's going there now before royal assent. So the extensions of powers for the Department for Work and Pensions with this bill have been reinforced and made even stronger, and I think that is a massive mistake. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you think about DWP kind of getting away with this for 10 years, and do you think disabled people and seriously vulnerable people should have the safeguarding clause put back into this bill, because it was put in here and now it's been removed? Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, if any of you want extra support and advice, make sure you come on over to the Justice Journals and we will be happy to help you out. Until then, have a great day.